friends, on Canasta Class channel, I'm teaching you step-by-step in how to play Modern American Canasta. Be sure to click below and subscribe, and also click the bell so you don't miss any new videos I post and when I go live. There are many different versions of canasta, and there are considerable variations in special hands that are allowed and how they are scored. Please keep this in mind while viewing this video on how to score Modern American Canasta. I'm going to score this game that has just ended. My partner has discarded their final card into the tray, and when you go out, that is discarded face down. First, you must determine who the scorekeeper is. The scorekeeper is the person to the right of the dealer. They should grab their special score pad or score sheet that you can be purchased online or at various stores. Please see the description below for a link, or simply a piece of paper. Or in my case, we like to use a steno book where it has lines on it and we can keep score. I've also attached the score values to the back of the book for each of the hands. I like to use the steno book because it keeps track of the past games all in one place. At the end of the hand, you must lay your cards face down for all to see so that you can show you are not holding cards that would give a team penalties, and we'll talk about that later. In order for a team to have positive points, they have to have one canasta. In this case, we have two, which allows our threes to be counted. If we only had one canasta, the threes would not be counted. The threes would be 0 or negated. If we had no canastas, our entire hand would be negative, both the cards in our hand and the melds on the table. However, in this case, we have two canastas. My partner was able to get rid of all her cards, and she went out. Each team will score their hands separately. Let's start with my team. All the cards left in your hand, which is only on my side, will be counted, and they are negative points, as well as your partner's hand. My partner had gone out, so she has no cards left in her hand. Each team should wash their cards, meaning that those left in your hand and those in the partner hand should be subtracted against the melds on the table. This is done as long as your team has at least one canasta. We have two. Place these in the tray so that they don't get mixed in or cause any confusion later. Each card ranking has a value. Again, if there were no canastas, all the cards from the team would be negative. The ones in your hand and the ones melded on the table would all be minus, and the threes would be negative also. You also want to check that no one incurred a penalty in their hand. Here we have 2 sevens and 2 aces, which is safe. We'll talk about that more later. There are 4 main areas where you will score points for your base score. So we'll start with the first point is our team, which is we, and I've used this just for this video so that you can see it better. Our team went out, so you receive 100 points. The 100 points is given to the team who has gone out. This is a compensation for the points left in your partner's hand. Let's tally up the points that are left in my hand. 20 is 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. I have exactly 100 points left in my hand. Number 2, part of scoring is to check that the hand had no penalties. We talked about this just a few minutes ago. This would occur if you or your partner held on to 3 or more sevens or 3 or more aces in the hand. You receive a penalty. The penalty is not in combination together. It's totaled separately. What's in each hand? If you held on to 3 in error, you would receive a penalty. Also, if you have incompleted canastas of sevens, pure aces, or wilds, you would also receive a penalty, and that would mean melds on the table. This would incur a penalty, and you would be deducted from your cumulative score. In both instances, we have no penalties. So the 100 points that I have in my hand that we just tallied up are going to be washed from the cards left on the table. I have to come up with 100 points. So let's start over here. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. These cards are what's called washing. I take the cards that were in my hand, the positive points that were on the table, put them together, and drop them in the tray. The next area to be scored, part of the base score, is our threes. Again, threes are scored based on color, and they are grouped together. You must gather them by color and count how many you have per color. So how many red and how many black. Each red or one black three is worth 100 points. As you increase in the number of red or black, the value increases in the score. So if you have two of the same color, in this instance we have two black, that is worth 300 points, and one red is worth 100. So together we have 400 points. Let's write that over here. So we have two black and one red. Two at 300 points and one at 100 points, totaling 400 points. If you had three of the same color, it would be worth 500 points, and all four of the same color is worth 1,000. So if your team gets all four red and all four black, they would receive 2,000 points. Threes will only be counted and added positive points to your score if your team has two canastas or more. If the team only has one canasta, the threes are ignored, not counted, 0 points. If the team has no canastas, the value of the threes are negative, as well as the value of the melds, negative, as well as the cards that were left in your hand will be negative. Also, your partner's cards in their hand would be negative. Note, when a team wins with a special hand, it does not count threes at all. The opponents score in a normal way. Since we just tallied our threes, we have 400 points. We can now put our threes in the tray. Now we have to tally up our canastas. This is the fourth part of the base score, which would be bonus points for hands and canastas. Bonus points for completing natural canastas of sevens or aces or wilds at varying points. Now let's score the canastas you receive bonus points for that are completed. Count up the number of natural. They receive 500 points each for those with a red card on top, meaning they contain no wild cards. So we have one red canasta, and now we have one mixed canasta which has a black on top because it contains two wild cards or one. It's a mixed canasta. So we have one red and one black. We come over to our score sheet and put down one black and one red. Black scored at 300 points and red is scored at 500 points. So we have a total of 800 points. You tally up your base score. This is your base score here, the base. So we have 8 and 4 is 12 and 1 is 13. Our base score is 1,300. Now we must count the card count. Each team is awarded the value of the cards melded that remain on the table and the individual cards that are in the canastas. Gather all your cards, and remember we removed our threes, they're in the tray now. You don't use them. So we're gathering all the cards and make piles of 100, using the values on each card based on their rank. Making piles of 100 to simplify and be efficient to count makes it faster to total your value, and then you're going to use that total to add to your cumulative score. Let's make piles of 100. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100. 10, 20, 100. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 5. We place 3 on top of the piles, so it marks the pile. The value is 100. And it also helps to distribute the 3s throughout the deck when shuffling for your games. Tally up the piles and add the point count to your score. So we have 1, 2, 3, 75. The card count of 375 is added to the score, and it is tallied. The scorekeeper will tally both the base and the point count. Again, the base is composed of this grouping. Normally, we just put the grand total. We don't write out the individual groupings. I did it for this purpose of teaching. We just usually put the grand total. Then we add our card count, and then the scorekeeper will tally. In this case, we have 1,675. Our opening meld is 125 for the next game. The scorekeeper will keep a cumulative score and announce it, what each new opening will be at the start of the next game. The overall objective is to get 8,500 points or more. The game ends once a team achieves this and they become the winning team. This will require several rounds of play. The opening initial meld first at the start of each game that the team must lay down a minimum card value of 125. In this case, we are under 2,995, so our opening meld for the next game is 125. When it is over 3,000 in game points, the new opening meld will be 155. When it's over 5,000, it will be 180. Now let's look at the other team's score and where they stand. The other team has 3 canastas, so their 3s will count. The first thing we'll start off with is washing their cards. This person had a pair of 7s, so no penalty there. And this person had a pair of 7s, so no penalty for the other team. They will gather their cards that were left in their hand, both their partner and themselves, and they will tally them up. 10, 20, 30, and 50 is 80 points. They will now deduct 80 points off the table. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. This is called washing the cards. The cards are then placed in the tray and you are done with those cards. Now they will tally up their 3s. Because they had 2 or more canastas, their 3s are positive. Remember, we have to sort our 3s by color. They have 2 black 3s and 3 red 3s. 2 black 3s are worth 300. 3 red 3s are worth 500. We will transfer that to our score. They did not go out, so they get a 0 there. They have 2 black 3s that are valued at 300. They have 3 red 3s that are valued at 500. They have a total of 800 points in 3s. So the 3s are then placed in the tray and you are finished with 3s. Now let's look at their canastas. They have 3 black canastas, meaning that they are mixed canastas. Each is worth 300 points, so they have 900 points. Let's transfer that to the score sheet. 3 black at 300 equals 900 points. Now let's tally our base score. We have 800 plus 900 is 1700. This is our base score. Now it's time to do our card count. The card count is composed of the values within the canastas and the cards melded on the table. We pile them up and make piles of 100. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 50, 90, 100. 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 80. Remember, we place threes on top of our 100, so it marks the pile's value of 100, and also helps to distribute the threes throughout the deck when shuffling for your next game. Tally up the piles and add it to your point count. So we have 1, 2, 3, 80. 380 is added to the them column. That is their card count, and you tally the base plus 380. They have 2080, which is still 125 for opening for the next round. Again, the next round will be played, and we will tally our base plus the count, and we'll add 3 columns now: the previous total, the base, and the count to come up with our new total. Let's review the 4 areas where points are scored for the base score on your score pad. To start out with, the team that went out gets 100 points. Then you tally up your threes by color. In this case, the team, they had 2 black, which is worth 300, and 3 red, which is worth 500. They had a total of 800 points in threes. The next area is canastas. You tally up the value of the canastas. In this instance, and 3 black canastas, each worth 300 points. So they had a total of 900 points. You also want to be aware of any penalties or special canastas. That is the 4th area that you need to be aware of in your canasta total for your base. The grand total for them was 1700 points. Then we took the individual canastas, their points underneath, and the cards that we had previously melded on the table, and we made piles of 100 and came up with 380 points. We totaled our base score plus our card count, and our grand total was 2080 points. Looking at the chart, this team would need to have an opening meld of 125. The next round, their scores would be recorded with the base score, the count, then you would add the previous score to the other 2 numbers to come up with a grand total. And you would look at the chart to see what their new initial meld would be, and the scorekeeper would announce it. In this example today, both teams still need 125 as their initial meld to open, as they both are below 2,995 cumulative points. After the next round, assuming we had over 3,000, we would then need to be at 155. If the other teams had 2,500, they would need 125 to open. If in a hand a team loses points, which happens regularly, and those points bring them below the threshold, then the amount they need to open is reduced to the appropriate level. As stated earlier, 8,500 points wins the game, which will require several rounds. While scoring is going on, someone not involved is shuffling the prior deck, usually the prior dealer. And the new dealer to the left of the prior dealer is dealing the next game. We did not talk about scoring for special hands and their values. We'll have a future video on that. but their value is added to the team's cumulative score.
Give me a thumbs up if you liked this video. On this Canasta channel, there are other videos that are great resources that will help you to learn how to play Modern American Canasta. Check them out. Contact me now to take a live and engaging in-person class if you live in Monmouth and Ocean County, New Jersey. Or I also have virtual classes. Contact me at mahjongclass@yahoo.com for this fun and stress-free beginner's class, or strategy classes are also offered. Comment below if you found this helpful. Share any questions you have. I'd love it if you share this video with friends. Thank you as always for watching these videos, and I'll see you in the next one.